How's it going? It's Jay from Sony Alpha Lab, and what I got here is the Sony FE 24 to 70 millimeter f2.8 GM lens. In this review, I will be testing this lens on the Sony A9, which I recently reviewed. You can check that review out here. Alright, so in this review, I'm going to go over this lens, and I'm also going to compare it to the other 24 to 70 millimeter f4 lens. Now, that lens is obviously much cheaper. I reviewed it twice. Let me just bang through the key features of the GM lens here, and then we will move on to the comparison of the other 24 to 70 f4 version. So for starters, it's an E-mount full-frame lens, so it's compatible with the Sony A7R II, A9 for example. It'll also work on the crop factor cameras as well, but it's optically designed for the full-frame sensor. It has one XA element and two aspherical elements. It has one ED element and one Super ED element. It has the Nano AR coating. It's got direct drive supersonic AF motor in there for the autofocus, so it's super fast and extremely quiet, great for video and photography. It's got the focus hold button on the side here. It's got the autofocus manual focus switch. Zoom feels really good. It also has this locking switch here on this side so you can lock it closed so it won't open. Nice feature. It has a very nice lens hood. It's got the pinch style lens cap. And the lens hood has a button here. I'll show you this closer in a minute so it actually snaps into place. It's got dust and moisture resistant construction. It has a 9-blade circular aperture diaphragm, so the bokeh balls look awesome. Wait till you see the pictures in the lab. Now this lens weighs in at 1.95 pounds or 886 grams. So it's not exactly light. It's definitely heavy. It's beefy, so that's worth noting. The price tag for this lens is $21.98 US. So again, it's definitely a pricey lens, but the optics are pretty astounding, as you will see in the photos. So in hand, the lens feels quite good. It's definitely heavy, but the quality is very nice. The zoom is really smooth. The focus is very buttery. I like the way that feels. And notice again, it's got the manual AF switch here and the focus hold, so you just use your thumb there on the focus hold button as needed. And you can see on the top it's got the focal range there, and it's also got this lock button which I showed you already, and that'll keep your lens from creeping if you want it to stay closed. See, right now I can't open it. Another thing I wanted to show you was the lens hood here has this locking button. It's a very nice feature, so you just press that and it comes off nice and easy, and if you turn it, see how it locks into place and now it won't come off? Alright, so the key differences between these two lenses is clearly the price, $21.98 versus $11.98. The max aperture is f2.8 on the GM lens, f4 on the Zeiss version. The Zeiss f4 version does have optical steady shot, the GM lens does not. Size-wise, here's the different sizes. And basically the Zeiss lens is about 2/3 the size. Looking at the weight, the GM lens weighs about double. Filter thread wise, the GM lens is 82 millimeter versus 67 millimeter, so that is a big cost savings as far as lens filters are concerned. Minimum focus distance is very close, 1.25 feet versus 1.31 feet. Lens elements, the GM lens has quite a bit more, 18 in 13 groups versus 12 in 10 groups. Diaphragm blades, we got 9 versus 7. Here is 24 millimeter versus 24 millimeter. And this is the GM lens on the left, and this is the Zeiss lens on the right. So the f4 version basically versus the f2.8 version. So let me zoom in here and show you what kind of sharpness we got going on. So as you can see in the center, they both look pretty much the same. Other than the color, obviously. You see how ridiculously sharp the GM lens is? All the way to the corner. The f4 Zeiss lens pretty much starts to get crappy right around here, and then it gets progressively worse all the way to the corner. So that's an f5.6, that's an f8. So that's an f8 versus f2.8. So you can see f8's a little bit better, but even compared to f2.8 on the GM lens, it's just not as good. Real world wise, it's really not as big of a deal. But, it does make a difference. All right, so let me just show you what a lens correction looks like here so you can see the difference. So here's the GM lens, and I'll just enable the profile. And you can see it. It definitely has noticeable distortion, but it's manageable. Now looking at the Zeiss lens, you can see it's way more. See that? So again, it looks great though once you fix it. Alright guys, so here's a few real-world photos from the Zeiss f4 lens, just to give you an idea of the, I get like real-world quality, because at the end of the day, that's what matters. So you could see the sharpness is excellent on this disgusting carpet that was in this building. Let me just move on here. This is looking down, and nice 3D effect there. Let me zoom in here. This is at f16. I was going for a little bit slower shutter, and this is just a landscape scene down at the Basher Kill. And you can see the sharpness is excellent right here. This is at f5.6 on these trees in the center area. And this is just a rusty post. I took a picture of this with the GM lens as well. So that's f8 versus f4, and this is with the f4 Zeiss lens. Again, there's a picture of Layla. This shot came out pretty good. And here on the eyelashes, you can see the sharpness is pretty darn good. It's at 1/80th of a second. It's not as sharp as the GM lens though. This is a Cuban. Yummy. And this is just a bus. Here's an edited version of the bus. Let me just zoom in and show you the clarity. So real world clarity and color is awesome on this lens. Let me show you the corner. Obviously this is a highly edited photo here, kind of cartoonish looking. And here's another real world image. This is at f5.6. Let me zoom in on the corner, show you the detail. You can see the license plate. It's a little bit soft there, but at the end of the day, not too bad. This is a raw file. So first I wanted to go over the lab photos here because it's a controlled environment, and I just wanted to go through the different focal lengths and apertures to show you what this thing's capable of doing. So for starters, here's 24mm, and this is at f2.8. So I just want to zoom in and show you what the corner sharpness looks like. You could see it's actually incredibly good. Phenomenal, in fact, in my opinion. And center sharpness here is also excellent. So wide open in the lab environment, the results are exceptionally good, in my opinion. One of the best wide-angle lenses I've used in a while. So here's 35mm f2.8, and I'm going to show you the corner sharpness here. And you can see the sharpness is excellent all the way until the absolute very corner here. The very corner, it starts to get a little bit blurry here. Let me zoom in to 2:1. You can see right here at the very edge, it's just a little bit soft. So here at 50mm, let me zoom into the corner. And you can see the sharpness is getting, again, at the very, very edge, it's just a little bit soft. But otherwise, it's quite good. And this is at 2:1. Let me go to 1:1 here. You can see it looks a little bit better at 1:1. But once you get away from that corner, I mean, it gets really sharp. And let me just show you what the corner looks like with the dollar bill here. And you can see there a little bit of softness again in the corner at f2.8, but you could see the sharpness as you go across the dollar bill. It really starts to crisp up over here. So you're looking at, a little bit of fall off there on the edges at 70mm. All right, guys, so I just wanted to show you quickly the distortion profile correction in the lab here at the different focal lengths. So again, here's 24mm, and that's what you get there. Now here's 35mm. And you can see there's not near as much distortion at 35mm, just a little bit. Still there though. 50mm. And you can see 50mm has a decent amount. As you can see, 70mm has a decent amount of lens distortion as well. Alright, so check out this aperture run. So here's f2.8. This is at the minimum focus distance, and I'll zoom in there so you can see the sharpness on the screw. And you can see it's really good right here. That's where I focused. And you can see the colors and chromatic aberrations and stuff are really well controlled. Alright, so here's f4. And you could just watch that background come into focus. Here's f5.6. Here's f8. Here's f16 I jumped to. And here's f22. Alright, so I'll just go back. Man, that's pretty cool, right? Pretty buttery. Alright guys, so I went down to the Basher Kill Wildlife Preserve and I took a couple landscape photos, and I just wanted to show you what some edited photos look like, just so you can see, get an idea of what you can get, if you're shooting in this type of situation. So I was shooting at f9, and I did edit these photos in Lightroom. I processed them a bit. Then I edited the photos using the Nik filters. So the Nik filters work quite well, and they're free. So I highly recommend checking those out. So let me just go through these photos quick. Here's another angle. And I like this angle. You can see the sun is behind me in the early AM here, giving me that cool, dreamy morning glow look. And again, I shot these with a Sony A9, so if you just watched that review, you might recognize some of these photos, because I also showed them off in the Sony A9 review, which I recently published. And this is actually at f2.8, just to show you the separation you can get. This one here is at f4, and you also get some killer separation, and sharpness, clarity, all that's there. Now check out this cool turtle. He was really cute. And look at this sharpness. It's phenomenal. Clarity, color, everything. Really, really good quality. This one I stopped down at f5.6. The previous one was at f4. And you can see that's just top quality right there. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that from what I've seen. Bang through these real world photos pretty quick. And like I said earlier, be sure to check out the full review where you can actually examine these photos, in a higher resolution, and you'll be able to take a better look. Starting off with some flowers on the deck here. Let me just go to Shift Tab and I'll do lights out here just so we can see a little more in detail. This is just a depth of field fall off type shot. So you can see the railing on my deck here, how it turns just buttery. And check out that background. It's pretty darn awesome. 70mm f2.8 is what these are shot at. That's just a bird nest on the deck. Now here's Layla. And I just wanted to show you what this looks like with the lens profile not enabled. So this is a raw file here. I slightly edited it here in Lightroom, but this is with the raw file corrections enabled and disabled. See that? So that's with no correction. That's with correction. So you can see even with the correction, even without it rather, the image still looks great. So, it does have a little bit of distortion to it. There's no doubt about it. You could see it in the correction there, but at the end of the day, the images look phenomenal with or without the correction. And the colors look really good, the rendering, nice contrast and all that. The sharpness is exceptional. Let me zoom in and show you the sharpness on these shots. They're phenomenal. Really happy with the performance of this lens. Just look at those eyelashes. So moving through here, we'll just keep going. All right, so here's Jace on the deck, and you can see just how sharp he is. Those eyes, incredible detail and clarity, color. He looks like a little bit of a psycho in the shot. Here's Bones Jones, and this is a more wide angle effect here. I'll change it. I was at 33mm. So you can see there's that wide angle distortion, but it also gives that 3D look to the image. Has a nice 3D pop type look. And here's another one of Jace I really liked. You can just see the sharpness, clarity, color, contrast. It's all there. Now this is just an out of focus. I just wanted to focus on the flowers in the background to show what the foreground out of focus looked like. And you can see how just buttery that looks in the background as well. Very buttery. This is at f4. And here's another angle, backlit. This is just a photo of Layla, real world shots at her birthday party. There's Jace. Look at that face. He's cracking us up. This is Jace putting some candles in the cake. And there's Layla. I just want to show you here, focused on the cake. This is how out of focus Layla is. She's really only like 2 feet away from the cake. And at f2.8 70mm, you can get this kind of separation here. It's really, really nice. Really excellent for wedding work and things like that. And obviously situations like this as well. Here's a photo of Jace. He's got a green tongue, sucking on a ring pop. There's a couple more of him playing with his toy guns on the deck. Loves these guns. It's unbelievable. So much different than Layla. I can't even tell you. And here's a shot with just focused on the gun, so you can see the out of focus he's got and that big smile on his face. And here's my buddy Jim. And you can just see in this photo the clarity on his eye is unbelievable. He's got really cool eyes. And the background and everything is quite brilliant. You can see the railing balusters out of focus here, just how good that looks, and the color. And the cost of this lens, you expect this. You demand this quality. And here's Jace on his cool glide bike. He's having a good time here. And it's just nailing the focus one after another. Again, I was using a Sony A9 for the camera body with this particular lens. Here's a cool Air Force plane down the road from where I work. And you can see just how good this looks. You can see that detail. Sharpness is phenomenal. Color, very, very good. Here's another angle. And here's a more wide angle view of the plane. So you can just get to see that wide angle effect you can get at 24mm. Here's the back of the plane. And notice the separation. I focused on this reflector here, and you can just see that buttery background. This is at f4, and this one is at f2.8. So you can see what kind of separation you can get. It's really impressive. Here's another separation example. It's just a tree I focused on, and there's a brick wall in the background, about 15 feet away. Just a couple more shots here. See the detail on that. Now here's an image. I just wanted to show you what the lens correction does here. So let me go to lens correction. Just took a shot of these blinds because they were so straight. So this is what it looks like with no lens profile correction. You can see that distortion there, especially on the top. See that white line? And then when you enable it, you can see it straightens right out. Now this was at 70 millimeter. So this is at 70 millimeter, and that's the kind of distortion you're getting, okay? Here's another one, and I'll just enable it to show you. Again, this is just a distortion sample type photo, nothing more than that really. Oh, also, actually you can see how it handles the high contrast situation. I wanted to show you that as well. So high contrast, you can see there's like no chromatic aberrations at all, really. There's just a very light blue line there, but it's hard to see. And I don't have it corrected here, notice. It's raw file, and I do not have that correction enabled. So here's another vertical. I just wanted to show you, just a snapshot here. I just wanted to show you what the profile looks like. So again, the grid kind of gives you a good visual of what you can expect. And this is at 70 millimeter. Just a couple more depth of field fall off type shots to show you what you can get with a lens like this. And that extra speed, the f2.8 speed, really gives you the exceptionally large out of focus bokeh balls. And here's a few more shots. This is just Jace on a swing. This is Sage the dog, and you can see, let me just zoom in here to show you the clarity and detail. Phenomenal. This is at f4. And it really doesn't get any better than this, guys. This is as good as it gets as far as I've ever tested, sharpness and clarity wise. Here's another angle. Lighting's a little bit more warm in this shot. Looks pretty good. The dog was actually moving in that frame. And here's my buddy's kid. I just wanted to show you when you're doing, kid portraits, what kind of range you can have here. So 29 millimeter, I can get a full frame, full body shot, and the background is nice and buttery, looks good. And then quickly zooming in, I can get a nice close-up. So without even me moving at all, I was able to get this shot and then this shot. You know, that's the versatility of a 24 to 70 millimeter lens on a full frame camera body. This is what you can expect to get. Here's a couple more. And this is just a Corona bottle. Let me just show you the detail. You can see it's quite impressive, the bubbles and everything. So here, shooting into the sun, you can see there is definitely some noticeable lens flare. You can actually see the different lens elements within the flare itself. Here's another one of Layla, just goofing around on the deck, but I wanted to show the background. The house was lit with the sun, super bright, and you can see how the lens handled it around Layla. That's what I wanted to show you. So it did a really good job. And notice this one here, up here there's some more lens flare. You can see the sun is just in the very, very corner, and a little bit of lens flare creeped in. But this is just a wide angle shot. I was shooting at f6.3 for this frame. And you can see the sharpness is awesome, really good. And I'll show you what it looks like when I enable the lens filter, okay, or the lens profile, sorry. See that? And here's another frame. This is a raw file, completely unedited. And here is a slightly processed version of this. I just in Lightroom processed it. So you can see what kind of, the distortion correction and also the color and everything else I brought down. I increased the sharpness a bit, and the results are quite good. Here's a couple more on the same bridge here. Just another depth of field fall off shot. And here's another one. And here's the edited version. So you can see there, just a little bit of distortion. Here's another shot of the top of the bridge, just this cool sign there. I'll show you the sharpness. And this is at f2.8, wide open. And you can just see that sharpness, really, really good. Here's another image. Just wanted to show you the lens starring effect you can get. I was actually shooting at f16 for that shot. Here's a cool depth of field fall off shot. And you can see all the colors and the rendering of the street scene in the background. And you get a better look here. You can see what was actually in the background a little better in this angle. And this is just another angle here. This is a cool truck I was driving past the other day in the morning light, and I thought it looked really cool. So let me just show you the sharpness. I was shooting at f5.6, and you can just see, again, the clarity, color, detail. It's all excellent. It's a raw file. And I stopped by the Pelton water wheel the other day, took a couple of frames. These are raw files, guys, unedited. So this is what you can expect straight off the camera. I'll just zoom in so you can see that a little closer. Phenomenal clarity and sharpness, you could see. I was shooting at f5.6. And here's just another depth of field type fall off shot. And this is just another angle, shooting the screw. It's got nice detail there. And this one I slightly edited here. You can see I enabled the profile. So there's without and there's with. Just another angle. And here I just wanted to show you focusing on the screw in the front and what the background looks like. And then here's focused on the background, so you can see what the front looks like. These are both raw files, unedited. There's another angle looking up, and I just like the way that the depth of field fades, and I focused up here in the top, and then you can see it fall off on the other side. So it's kind of a depth of field, you know, roundabout, for lack of a better word. It was Jace's birthday the other day, and again, I showed these photos in my recent Sony A9 review as well. So if you guys just watch that, you're probably going to see a couple duplicates here, but they were fitting for this review as well. And this is just a real world shot of a group, you know. I was actually at 36mm for this one, zoomed in just a little bit, but you could see how this could apply at a wedding or a group where you can easily, at close range, get the entire group with excellent quality all around. All right, guys, so at the end of the day, the FE 24 to 70mm f2.8 GM lens is phenomenal. It's $1,000 more than the f4 version. However, the f4 version does have optical steady shot built in to counteract that, you know, loss that you have with the aperture. The f2.8 aperture does offer a more buttery bokeh. It really does. You can see in the sample photos. Size-wise, the f4 version lens is significantly smaller. It weighs half as much, and it costs $1,000 less. So at the end of the day, in the real world, they both take phenomenal photos. Now, when you look at the sample photos I showed you, when you zoom to the corner areas, yeah, the f4 version, it sucks in comparison to the f2.8 version. Even at f8, the f4 version doesn't hold up to the GM lens at f2.8 in the corners. So that is remarkable difference in quality there, especially in the corners. Distortion is noticeably worse on the f4 version. It's I don't know, twice as bad, I guess, if you're looking at it. But again, in the real world, you look at the real world photos, they both look awesome. I mean, the lens coatings, things like that, contrast, color, they're both great lenses. It's just the cost difference, you know, is the f2.8 worth it? Well, you know, if you're a pro photographer and you can justify that price, absolutely it's worth it. It's better optically, it's faster. The camera bodies have the 5-axis steady shot built in, so you don't have to worry about that. So if you can't afford it, if you're like me and you're just, you know, you're just an enthusiast and you don't necessarily need the super fast speed, well, the f4 version is a great lens. I mean, it really is. Yeah, the distortion's there, but you can fix it in Lightroom. Corner sharpness is a little bit weak. At the end of the day, when you're looking at the photos, you don't really notice it that well unless you're pixel peeping. So you get what you get, and you don't get upset. That's what I tell my kids. All right, guys. In any event, I really hope you got what you're looking for in this review, and be sure to check out the full written review where I'll have high-res versions of these photos with 100% crops and stuff, so you can really see the details closer than you can in this video. Please let me know what you think in the comment sections below. Be sure to subscribe, don't forget about that. And I'm looking forward to reviewing the new FE 100 to 400mm lens and also the 16 to 35mm GM lens. Both those lenses should be a lot of fun. So stay tuned, have a good day, and I'll catch up with you on Sony Alpha Lab.